Hello.
There we are.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Okay, just turn that down there. Okay, my words, my words.
There was more,
oh gosh, how
but
you're,
not like before, like it was constant every day. It was just that was like the first memory in what, like a week or something. So,
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, talk to me. What,
I guess I'll do this. Oh, let me
oh
screen
yeah, and gosh,
sharing.
we got a ton to review. You're doing such good work, Diane. How's the channel going? My apologies. Um,
Oh no, yesterday I got up,
I haven't even updated my website. It's just been since I've been attacked by these perps in the background. I'm trying to do a video
I
response.
yeah. No, since I yesterday I put up uh the first journal entry, which I
Oh,
recorded like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
yeah.
So, I think it's getting a decent amount of views already. Oh, shoot.
These I
Um,
got front row seat here.
Rumble seems to be my place.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You had referenced that, and maybe I need to focus on Rumble more, huh?
Yeah, look at this. I put it up yesterday, 22 hours ago, and it's got 23 views, 11 unique views. So I'm assuming that 11 people watched it twice. Because after I put it up, I open it and I run through it and just make sure that the whole thing's there and not I don't really watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look at this. And then Saturday I put this up. Baphomet 25 views, 11 unique. So like people are watching things twice.
Uh,
If I'm understanding this, raw views and unique views. I'm not really sure what that is, but my first one, look at that, 239. I was like blown away. So it's like 113. So again, they're watching them like twice. This
they
one
would have to.
three times. This one like 3 times. This one 4 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel pretty good about that. But
And
all the other channels are like, in the, 5, 10 views. And I think YouTube, it could be because you can't subscribe. I don't know if that's because they can't verify my phone number because of the counts and all that crap. Plus,
oh,
plus everything's in like the maximum amount of time you can put on there is 15 minutes. So it's like, oh geez, like 4 or 6 parts for an hour-long thing. And it's funny because they'll watch one episode 2 or 3 times, but not the other. Like if it's part 1 through 6, people only watch like 2 or 3 parts. So
yeah.
I don't know. But my peeps seem to be on Rumble.
There you
Let me
go.
see what Odyssey is doing.
And because of the nature of the content,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
majority of those are going to be survivors.
yeah. Um, Channel page. So here's Odyssey, and it's kind of hard to is it doesn't break it down like okay, one view, three, none, none, one. Uh, I don't know what that is. None and two. So Odyssey seems to be, kind of floundering. BitChute's about the same. Let me see what YouTube. Oh, no, didn't want that. Oh, yeah, okay. What the heck? Let's just get out of there. Do it again. Oh, no. Oh, I don't even want to look at it. It's like Odyssey, but yeah, Rumble seems to be where it's taking off, which is amazing because I don't really use Rumble myself. but no, it's okay.
No,
And
that's good.
this software, I don't like it. I paid $70 for an annual. And then after I paid for it, I realized there's certain things I can't do. Like I can save it as an image. I did, a snip and saved it onto my computer so I could send it to you. But like the clarity's awful. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just open it up in the software. Let me get rid of that.
Oh,
And same thing. So it's like something that works, it works while you're using it. It's for like teachers. So I think I'm going to call them and cancel the subscription and pay
yeah.
for a month or whatever, and then find something else. 'Cause
Oh,
I spent like 4 hours on this, and to not be able to access it clearly and move it around and change it
yeah.
right now. And I spent an hour just looking at like 10 different softwares, YouTube reviews and this and that. And this one seemed like, okay, it's affordable and it's got what I need, but no, it doesn't have what I need. So
But did it give a three-dimensional view of it?
this is the view that I got, period. And
But what?
even once I did the pictures first, and then once you put the lines in, then it creates this like grid over the top of it where you can move all the lines all at once, but you can't go back and access the pictures. So it doesn't layer, and it doesn't work like PowerPoint does.
Oh,
So I'm pretty disappointed. I put so much energy into it, but I'm glad that I have it because now I can just copy it because I got it lined out right.
okay.
Still not sure about this piece of the pie, and that's what the line is. It's going through the mind file thing because the mind files accesses David, who accesses everything else.
As you were doing this, well, you just described part of it.
Oh, I know
What
what I'm
what
talking.
started to come to mind?
Not
Uh,
much really, other than just I wanted to straighten things out, and make these a little larger because they seem to have more power over the rest of the system,
yeah,
and
yeah.
delineate, the sexual, the assassin, the torture. Um, but yeah, I mean it's like poor, you can't see anything. Um, you know how Michael moved into Trip, who, split these ways, and how Sick split off.
Boy,
And
once you find the program, this will be outstanding.
I know once I do, yeah. But like I said, I spent like an hour just figuring out what software. And then when I finally chose one, I used it as a free trial. And I had everything pretty much done. And I thought, well, this works good. I'll just subscribe. And so I did, and I thought as I subscribe, it'll give me more features. What didn't? And so I'm like, well, crap. So I'm gonna probably cancel this. And yeah, because it activates with a microphone. So I think it's a software just to utilize for the day, for like
Uh,
a teacher or something, but it's not a long-term solution.
yeah.
So, but I'll get off of there. I mean, unless you have any questions or
No, I'm hoping there's, in this day and age with all the
like
different.
this, you can't, get rid of it. It's annoying. But yeah, it's basically the same lineup I had
There
before.
is, even on, I've seen how like they create three-dimensional models.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can turn it so almost like something, if there was something that allowed you to create a three-dimensional, this might three-dimensional universe. Maybe that's the kind of program you want. These could be equipped
Um,
with little stars.
yeah.
And
Well, here's something I found that was fascinating. I read this last night, just a par or a chapter or two. It's uh, Emma has interviewed this guy, Marcel Pulte.
Oh,
He's,
did he,
I think he's German.
what's the name of that? I think I listened to him.
The Dark New World Order Part 1, which
Was
I
he,
think
was he behind that video series on the
the
Survivor?
50, yeah, I think the 50 Voices. I think he was
Yeah.
part of that.
Okay.
Yeah. But he goes in here, as I'm reading, and it's a lot of it I already know, and I'm like, okay, and I'm highlighting things that apply to me. And he got to a point where I was like, wow, that's a strange torture. It's called spinning. Is also used to train the inner persons to appear quickly, one after the other, to take over parts of the pain, anxiety, and nausea they are suffering. A survivor describes how she was subjected to such a procedure under the influence of heavy alcohol, accompanied by many colored flashing lights and painfully loud sounds. And he said he didn't pay much attention to it at first and whatever until he ran into something else. 7 different survivors between the age of 20s and 40s. He said, I was shocked by the complexity of the process and the enormous criminal energy required to implement it. He Lover rightly, well, and I don't want to read the whole thing because it's like 3 pages. But I got to this part here. It says, therefore, this part must learn to spin internally. Since wrong spinning is punished with further torture and right spinning is rewarding, this part finally learns to become a spinning object that is a tornado itself. And it hit me. That's what Wizzy is a tornado. And I thought, well, did I have some sort of spinning torture? And I don't know what the years are that this was begun, but it says it rightly concludes that spinning is not comparable to any other programming method and can be regarded as a central, powerful element of the entire mind control application, which I thought it covers everything in my diagram.
Yeah.
The method is not only extraordinarily painful in a perfidious way, by spinning around, that is, horizontally on a turntable or vertically on a wheel, large centrifugal forces are generated over a long period of time. The
Yeah.
centrifugal forces cause this victim to experience extreme headaches that make him feel that his head is about to explode from the inside at any moment. In addition, drugs are administered, and the person spinning around is terrorized with flashlights, loud noises, verbal suggestions, and partly with further torture, that is electric shock.
Yeah.
It says this method can reach the entire personality system of the victim. This means that pain, confusion, self-destruction tendencies, panic, anger, fear, lethargy, hopelessness, and other emotions are distributed simultaneously to all parts of the personality. So this process affects them all at the same time and also splits them even further. That he goes into that. Says that's not all. The ultimate goal of spinning is to create more multiples within the inner person, multiple subsystems, so to speak. How is this achieved? The concept of painless contests to which many mind control survivors were exposed makes this clear. Together with another victim, they had to endure pain. The intensity of the pain was then continually increased until one of them, the loser, could no longer bear it. So it's like this spinning, you've got a primary person dealing with it. When they can't, it either splits you or it shifts it into another part, an existing part, or both.
There we go.
The natural protective mechanism usually ensures that during the agony, different inner persons alternate in quick succession to divide the pain between them. However, this was expressly forbidden at the pain contests under threat of even worse punishment. Instead, a certain inner person had to stay out all the time. Since the present part cannot permanently bear the enormous pain, it must create a group of further personality parts to which it can send the pain. The result, a multiple subsystem is created. Mind control expert Dr. Allison Miller has also found that some inner persons are multiples themselves. So my part Lance, I'm kind of getting the vibe while I'm reading this. Lance, he doesn't have any individual experience, but he holds the rage for all the killers and distributes it to them as they need it in order to accomplish their job. These are the specific functions of spin programming. However, that not is all. Usually an additional spinner alter is created, which can recall the physically experienced spinning at any time as an inner experience and pass it further onto the subsystem. Therefore, this part must first learn to spin internally, which makes me think of Wizzy. Since wrong spinning is punished with further torture and right spinning is rewarded, this part finally learns to become a spinning object, a tornado itself. Then the part learns to connect the experience of inner rotation inseparably with the emission of pain and emotion. With the pain, nausea, and loss of orientation, all the memorized traumas caused by years of abuse and torture are passed on. Which is kind of what I feel like happens, because as I remember, it said I felt like they evolved into new part, into like one part evolved,
Right.
but that evolution did create a new part. Like here was the torture evolution and the sadness and drugs and anxieties. So I was kind of going, oh my goodness. The entire system is thus flooded with carefully accumulated pain and terror. In order for this to succeed, the transmitter's feelings of spinning is not only infused with innumerable repetitions of spinning torture over the years, from age of 3 or 4, cognitive training uses further images. Cognitive training using images further enhances the effect. Thus, Dr. Lover noticed that all these patients had obsessively and repeatedly made spinning and tornado-shaped scribbles without knowing why they did. This matches the account of mind control survivor Judith Moore. Not only does she write of a feeling as if she was spinning, Judith also came across spiral-shaped drawings in her journal. Finally, the spinning training includes the conscious performance of rotational movements. Interestingly, Kathy O'Brien reports how she had to perform a specific number of rotations to the fiddling of U.S. Senator Robert C. Byrd. Obviously, spinning program was also applied to her. The created spinner alter, however, is only one element of a complex, self-regulating and independent system of fragments. Each of the highly trained personality parts is assigned a specific task, which makes me think of these mind files, of which Wizzy is a part. And also Tasmania, that's this bird of prey, he also had that spinning thing, right? I chose that picture. So, each of the highly trained personality parts is assigned a specific task: coordinator, informant, punisher, a key or access part, and many more. Via the access person, the programmers can quickly access the system at any time to retrieve information or make adjustments. The system is also designed in such a way that it immediately eliminates interferences caused by therapies and the like. Furthermore, additional parts that were created unnoticed as a result of the trauma are detected and disabled. Otherwise, there would be a danger for the programmers that such an inner person might develop a life of his own, sabotage the system, or help with the integration of other parts. And that's as far as I got. So I was reading that going, oh my God, I think this may have happened to me. Because there's been a couple of times in my life where I felt like I didn't really experience vertigo per se, but I'm thinking about it now, and I think there was some sort of spinning. And I remember the thing that Susan and Lindsay, the snakes in the lamprey,
Yeah.
was on a round disc. And I don't remember it spinning, but it might have been. And I would have been about 4. But that would have been 1969-ish. So I don't know when that spinning stuff started or how long. But I would have been horizontally spinning instead of the vertical one. And that was the same time period that Wizzy was created. And then later on, when Jack accessed and programmed me, I was about 5 or 6, so not very long after. And he might have been able, instead of maybe tapping into David, I wonder if he didn't tap into Wizzy. You know what I mean? I just assumed it was through Dad.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
isn't that fascinating?
And all of this is meshing with what I've as I've worked with folks over the years. I think that can be accomplished one of two ways, or what I've surmised.
Uh-huh.
You either have a kid on an actual table, spinning table.
Really? So you've run across that before?
Oh yeah, yeah, know what you're describing, almost without exception. So I think,
Never heard of that.
yeah, so you're either going to have one of those sophisticated, a centrifugal type of table where it could, or so
I'm
I,
just now remembering it. It was there with the snakes. And that's why we were strapped down, obviously, so we wouldn't get up as well. But yes, I'm remembering it now as we're talking. I kept thinking about it last night. I'm like asking those parts, did that happen? Oh, first I was just thinking, well, who and when would that have occurred to? But right now, I think that was the case. I do.
here's the other thing that I'm convinced they do, because that's going to be much more sophisticated having a table that turns like that. That's going to require
Yeah,
more
like
stuff.
hydraulics or whatever.
So think about back in the 60s and 70s. It's probably still happening now, but
And
especially,
those playground devices.
okay, right? But here's something I think that happens that would happen more frequently because it would not take as much mechanism or mechanical stuff. Where
Right.
take a kid, you strap them on a round table or a square. That at that point it wouldn't. But you have in front of them or on the ceiling, so you can do it where they're seated or they're lying down, and you have a pinwheel-like drawing, like on the
Oh.
Twilight Zone, where
Yeah, like hypnosis, that
there you go, you
hypnosis
darken the
thing
room, you get this thing spinning, you do black light or strobe light.
with loud music and stuff. Yeah.
So you're going to create, except for the actual blood rushing to the head effect, but you can still give them some
You could
drugs.
create it mentally.
There
Yeah.
you go. So you get this thing spinning.
Isn't that what they do to pilots in those
Good question,
devices?
right? Oh, yeah, for the astronauts, the centrifuge type thing.
I don't know, I
Maybe
spin the
that's
hell out of them. They must split them 100 ways from Sunday.
maybe, right. And so maybe that's also at NASA. The question is how much legitimate stuff actually took place at NASA. So
Well, and in this book, he talks about government and NASA. He
yeah.
distinguishes them. He isn't really delving into it yet, but
Von
I'm like,
Braun was head of
now,
NASA, so I could imagine you put kids on that centrifuge.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I was just blown away when I was reading that. But I guess we'll go through the journals because it's kind of quick, I guess. Maybe we'll see.
But then let's definitely come back to that.
Yeah, so this is I woke up in the middle of the night, remember the dad used to say, oh, I read this to you. Yeah,
And
I read that one already.
okay. Hmm.
Um, I think it was the taste thing. I was just watching one of my TED Talks again. I was thinking about my belly and being overweight.
And
Then
and that's almost, as I was reading through this, it's almost inevitable that as I work with survivors, Diana, they're going to have a drink that has some sort of flavor in it.
I usually drink water all day. Well, I do drink water all day. It's just my morning tea that has sugar in it. My big thing is that at the end of the night after dinner, I want a dessert and it's large. Should not be eating that big of a dessert, but I
But
do.
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I was thinking about how I do all the bike riding to counterbalance. I'm not an obese mess. Then suddenly it hit me. The reason I ate all that cake and sweets as a child was to cover up and wash away the nasty taste of blood and human flesh. I was using one thing to wash away another, and in doing so, I ended up basically getting addicted to sugar and wanting to have a dessert every single day. And then when I was smoking pot, exponentially increased. So therefore, I had to increase my exercise now that my
Can
knees
I ask
messed
you a
up.
question with this, Diana?
Uh-huh.
Um, Whenever you went out to dinner, so let's say you and Chris going out to dinner,
Which we did.
did you ever go to a steak place and did you ever notice any kind of weird response on your part?
Not not really. I mean, maybe a little bit. I don't know. When you asked me that, I was seeing the inter because I like my steaks medium rare. And when they're rare, it grosses me out. If it's too red, it freaks me out. 'Cause we never go out to eat, but I'm thinking about 20 years ago. So we usually order in. But we have steak at home a lot. And yeah, if it's too red, both of us don't care for it.
Okay, I mean, but I could only imagine, right, if like one person I've been working with, all of a sudden this stuff started coming, she realized she had an aversion to meat for years and she didn't know why. And so now that,
Oh, well,
that
yeah,
makes sense.
that could definitely thing it. Um, so just watching that video made me notice my big old belly and not liking it. So perhaps my next TED Talk, along with the knee, whack the heck out of the lungs so I can work out smoking. I can also maybe whack the mouth and the stomach so as to work out issues with the nasty taste in my mouth, which coincides with smoking, and work out the smoking issues. I never made that connection before either about the nasty taste in my mouth from the SRA and cigarettes, because that also covers up the SRA taste as well as the sweets and sugars covering up the taste. Now, here's the thing is we have this truck that comes by. It started about a year ago and they sell organic meat. And it's not cheap, but it's also not over the top expensive either, because Chris and I were debating buying a big freezer and buying a half of an organic cow, and because I want healthier food for us.
That's right.
And so this guy came around and I thought, well, let's give it a try. And you buy it by the box instead of 6 different kinds of steak. And the first time I had one, it was delicious. The hamburgers are just fantastic. But the steaks, the first one, I was like, there's just some odd flavor here. And so I tried a different one, there's a tri-tip, there's a sirloin, there's a New York strip. And so I tried one of each over the weeks, and all of them had this flavor. And I was like, I'm not buying meat from this guy again. Maybe the hamburger, sure, it's great, but not this meat. And so he came and I told him, and he's like, he looked really perplexed. He said, I've never had anybody tell me that. And he's like, well, I'm like, I can't eat these. It's disgusting. And so he exchanged it all for me, which I thought was mind blowing. And so I started eating the exchanged pieces. And guess what? They tasted fine. But you know what? It occurred to me was the same time I started smoking. So maybe that's why they taste fine, because I'm also smoking. I put that together last night after I wrote this.
I'm sorry, they tasted better
It
when
tasted
you
normal after he exchanged the meat for me. So maybe the meat was fine. I'm having SRA body memory tasting the meat, but at the same time he exchanged the meat for me was the same, because I remember when he was exchanging it, Chris was smoking, and I thought, well, I want to have a cigarette too, but I didn't because I felt like he was a flim-flam man trying to scam me. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, don't smoke right now. Pay attention to what's going on. So I think by smoking, it masked whatever
Okay.
SRA flavor, because I've had two different varieties now. It was just a couple weeks ago, and they taste fabulous. So I wonder if I stop smoking and eat it again, it's going to taste like crap,
Oh,
right?
that's a little dilemma.
Right? Or hopefully I'll work the SRA flavor out of my mouth and it'll
Okay,
all
right.
get dissolved.
I think the way to do that, my supposition is TED, right? You recapture your own ability to taste normal stuff.
Yeah, and yesterday when I worked on Ted, I put the knife in his mouth for that very reason.
There you go. For you. For you.
Yeah, so that's what all of this was here. So yeah, cigarettes do mask taste and smell, because I don't have a very good sense of smell at all. And I always thought it was because of smoking, but I quit for 8 years and I didn't notice any increase in my smell. So I think at some point I learned to not naturally sniff things. I mean, yeah, I can go out and smell a rose and smell it and whatever, but it's only if I make a conscious effort to smell something.
Yeah. And I just read in there, so sorry about that. I had obviously mentioned to you previously about other survivors have, yeah. It's a common theme, this the issue of the ta how could it not be? Right? How could it
Yeah, it's like crazy. And did you well here, I'll get to the next.
yeah, I want to cover
Oh,
those.
the thing, I don't want to go too much into the Beatles. So just think I'm sitting here having a cigarette. Doesn't necessarily have to be one specific part. Could be the mind files. It popped in my mind that if it were a part of the mind files, that it would be parts that would want to self-destruct, I suppose, or something like that. And that would be the part that would be eating away at the base. Because
Huh,
that's what cigarettes does. It eats away at your body.
yeah,
So that part would be the beetle. And it's funny, I looked up the beetle and what it does. Um, it discusses that it was considered like the sun to ancient people. It was revered, and that it has horns, right? So you got that sun worship, you got the worship of the beast with the horns. It eats away at the base of plants. That could be the part or aspect of my mind files that has to cut me down, self-destruct mode, ever so slowly chewing away at the base until the whole plant dies. And so I just copied this from Wikipedia. It has sexual dimorphism, right? So you got the transgender
there you go.
Baphomet thing. It was the god of the rising sun, so sun worship. Rolling the sun by the god. That's just basic. Oh, yeah, and that scarabs are used as ingredients in spells.
Ah,
They use beetles like they use fighting dogs or roosters. They for gambling and entertainment. People train beetles to fight. Did you know that? I
I
was
did not.
blown away. Yeah, and then here it says beetles in technology, so I read that. They're used as cyborgs. DARPA funded projects implanted electrodes into beetles. They can be remotely controlled via radio receiver held on its back as proof of concept for surveillance work. Similar technology has been applied to enable a human operator to control the free flight steering and walking gaits of this particular one as a well-graded turning and backwards walking of another one. Which I don't know, it's just I kind of related because Alan used to get into technology and how they've created, well, use animals that can remote control them. And one time when I was walking Dixie, like, oh my God, yeah, it was probably 5 years, it was a long time ago. there's this, you know how neighborhoods have those brick walls along, and so Dixie and I are walking along, and all of a sudden this bird flew around and landed right on this brick wall about as 10 feet. I'm walking towards it and I'm looking at it going, this is the most bizarre bird I've ever seen.
Oh,
It had like the body of a pigeon with the legs of a chicken and the head of something else. And it stayed there. As I walked up to it, I got about, maybe two feet from it, and I'm really studying it. And it's like letting me study it. And I thought to myself, are you a drone? But it looked like a live being. But it could have been like a chimera or something. So when I read this, I thought, well, did they do the same thing with beetles? Because in the movie, what is it? Minority Report with Tom Cruise, they show those insects that are used as surveillance devices and how the spiders crawl under the doors and surveil this person's house. Or, the army has drones that are the size of beetles that they use in enemy territory. I've seen that on some military things that Alan posted. So I thought, well, they got a thing with beetles and they have for thousands of years. So I was just,
I've seen some that look like birds.
so why not use it in programming as well? You know? So that was interesting. Oh, and I want to go back to the well, that this will coincide with this in the adrenal gland. Laying down, I just saw an image of a woman on it, naked on the floor with her hips sitting side. She wasn't really sitting. It was like she was thrown down, and she caught herself
This
on.
memory came back to you all at once, Diana.
Well, it was first just this image. And I
Okay.
think I got up, went to the bathroom and laid back down, and I was drifting off, and I thought, nah, you better record that. Record it, record
Oh,
it, record it. So I did. And then I saw more. I saw her being hanged. She was still naked. Her legs are flailing around. Her hands are trying to get under the rope. My dad and my grandpa have me standing between them watching her die. So they were explaining to me that's what happens when you open your mouth. Dad interjects, but not in the good way. Grandpa chuckles. She was whipped badly by grandpa and then hanged. So my memory is going backwards like it always does. She was almost dead and was stopping fighting. My father lifted me up. I had a knife in my hand. He had me plunge it in her solar plex down through her stomach. I disemboweled her. Grandma had a bowl to catch the innards. She was left hanging in the barn overnight and the next day in the heat. I was taken to see her dead body the next day. I should say the next morning. They patted me on the back. I'll just do that. And told me what a good job I had done. I was a good little killer. And that was Catherine's first name, Little Killer. I think I was just 4 years old. So I think Little Killer was born when I had to kill the cat.
yeah, yeah.
And then I later remembered that they had me disembowel that cat too. That was part of this. But they were praising me. I was so glad to have their approval. I wanted to please them. It just hit me rereading this that I did not kill her, they did.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she was hanging on by a hair and I finished it off. I don't know. That was Catherine's second kill, a human. Now, Sarah was the one that was Scar, who Grandma taught to kill that baby in that ritual when I was 3. So I don't know if two parts can merge into one.
Or maybe the reverse, where one kind of that's that splitting.
Because Sarah was first,
Yeah.
and then
And
Catherine was second.
then I think
Versa, I don't know.
here's my own sense that one part is going to be then connected. That's the emotional support system for that part. And hence then if a situation gets too overwhelming, I guess that's what I called the backup.
Yeah, yeah.
Those two will tend to be associated together.
Yeah, because where is she?
And then, like as they say, there might be five, right? Depending upon
Oh, see, then
it's
I need to put
overwhelming how
them.
much. And therefore, each of those, let's say it took five support parts. So it's split into five.
See, I don't
Then
even have them on this page, but they are killers.
and each of those parts would have then let's say it was over the span of an hour. So each of those parts might have 10 minutes or 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes of that memory.
Yeah.
Then they needed backup. And so that's why it can become so confusing for
I
a
just can't
survivalist.
remember which one came first now. And I'm wondering if I even remembered them in the correct order.
It probably makes sense that it's the little one that had to kill the baby.
Yeah, Sarah was first,
Yeah, yeah.
four,
Right, poor
and
little Sarah.
then Catherine second.
Okay, right. And then as Sarah now is forced to do this again,
With a
now,
cat that I had to
right?
twist its head off, and then
Yep.
Catherine didn't remain dormant, but didn't have to disembowel anybody again till I was at Himmler's castle.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, okay, wow. It's just these people are just so depraved, just so evil. After the woman was whipped, and I'm wondering right now, it crossed my mind earlier this morning, did I do the whipping? Because later on, when I was 8 years old, remember on the boat ride, they had me whipping those children?
It wouldn't surprise me, right? They're not going to leave anything to chance. And then was it like a cat and nine tails? Was there anything embedded in that? Because a kid isn't going to be
Yes,
whipped very
yes,
hard.
yes.
Um, I'm also wondering, maybe it'll come back to you. You wonder where they got this woman.
Yeah, yeah, I've got the vibe that she was a cult member who was trying to escape or had talked or did something, that she was being made an example. So she did something wrong. So after the woman was whipped, she had a rope placed around her neck and was raised up in the barn. That's when she was kicking and fighting to get off. A big long wooden arm swung her body, or so they, hanged her, and the rope was connected to this thing that, like a hoist that pulled her
Yeah,
up. And
that's
then
right.
this arm swung her around so she'd be hanging over that big vat of blood that me and my sisters were put in,
Yeah.
and had lampreys in there for that other girl that got eaten alive in there.
Where this barn was,
In
Diana?
Indiana. I've looked up the address, and it's a completely new house. There's no barns. It's a neighborhood now. But back then, I believe it was a decent sized house. I'm thinking 4 or 5 bedrooms. The living room had a loft above it. So I remember my grandma used to do witch ceremonies in there, and demons used to fly around in there. But it was a fairly large house. She just kept it nasty. She was a dirty, cluttery kind of person.
Boy, wouldn't it be?
But their barn, yeah, it had this
I wonder
thing.
do you know how they disposed of the bones and stuff? Because wouldn't that be interesting if they,
Yeah. Well, anyway, a big long windarm swung her body around to be over the tub of blood. That room next to where Susan and Lindsay were tortured with snakes and lamprey. That's why Dad lifted me up. He actually stood me on the edge of that vat so I could reach out and disembowel her, and they could save the blood. So I could, well, she was over the tub of blood, or I either a tub of blood or a vat of blood. I don't know what to call it. I remember looking at the place where we were tortured, because remember he stood me up there and I glanced over, and that was the room where we were tortured. It sent shivers up my spine. Of course, I would do whatever they told me to do. Grandma had taken some of the entrails and put it together with some of the woman's blood in a blender.
gosh,
She prepared a goblet me, her dad, and grandpa drank from it. Apparently, it was our prize, our reward. It was so disgusting. But I drank as much as they told me. I could not get that taste out of my mouth, which I think is why I would eat sweets.
Of course.
As a kid, I would always want sugary, sweet stuff. On the second day, when they took me to see the body again, is when they lowered it and placed it in a wagon of some sort, and the neighbor boys took the body away. So it's the next morning. I slept okay, had lots of dreams. I woke up when I turned over having a coughing fit, sitting out in the garden, just relaxing. I was just thinking back on that image that I first saw last night of the woman being thrown down on the ground naked. At first, I thought it was me. I had to really look at her. I realized it could not have been me because she was an adult and she had a long ponytail. That was only when it occurred to me I was watching somebody else be tortured / murdered. So very disturbing. I'm having some stomach cramps over it. I'm pretty sure it's from that mixture of entrails and blood that grandma made me drink back then. And I keep having the impression right now, and I was last night, that I had to eat some of that woman's body. I know I did with the innards in the blood, but I keep getting the impression there was a piece of flesh presented to me and I was to eat it. And I did eat it. Kind of like, when a hunter kills an animal and they cut the heart out and they're presented with a piece of the heart to eat. It's just so disgusting. It's human beings. And I was talking about wanting to work out, but there's parts of me not interested. I haven't been on my bike for 3 weeks, but now my knee's better. Just the tiniest little sore spot on the side. That's why I was thinking I should ride my bike. And then it occurred to me that I've regressed in life. I'm smoking again and not exercising. I keep telling myself this is just a temporary thing, but I have to put my foot down and stop smoking. I have to get back on my bike again. I want to feel strong and healthy. Yeah, here I am sitting in the garden dictating this and smoking a cigarette. And then I started feeling tired and drowsy. My stomach was jacked up. Pretty sure that means there's more memories on the way. That always happens when I feel drowsy. But then again, it could be because I didn't sleep as deeply as I could have. So now I have the image of next time.
Diana, can I go back just for a moment?
Yeah,
One
yeah.
way that truly and accurately, I think, let me reframe it. In my estimation, it's not regressing. I think it's progressing. Now, I'm not playing semantics with
Well,
you.
I know it because it's only coming up because of all of this.
Right. And so you're now tapping into, in a very raw way, pardon the, use of that term. So I'd give yourself a little bit of a break. I really don't. I
I
personally don't,
know. I know.
right? It's like the guys that are practicing football right now out in severe heat,
I know. Is that ridiculous?
right? But, so on those days as a coach, what do you expect of the guys? It's like,
Yeah,
you take into account.
you got to
So
give them a break every
there you
30
go,
minutes
because
or something.
you're actively tapping into those parts that are you're getting this stuff now in the, I hate to use that term, right? And so the fact that you've gone back to it really is tapping into those parts. So, I just so you can kind of view it for yourself more accurately, because that's going to be important for you to be able to get back into exercising. It really is important not to view it as regression.
Yeah,
I
I keep wondering if
first,
I don't want to exercise as a distraction too.
okay. I also think discouragement and maybe some caution that a part of you doesn't want your knee to flare up. So I'd rather you be able to normalize it, because then your natural inertia, um, your natural discipline will come back. So anyways,
Well,
just
that's what I'm fearful about is that it's not. That's the fear.
yeah. And so that's why I just want to confirm and affirm for you, because
Okay, good. Well, thanks for that because I needed to hear it for sure.
yeah,
I'm
yeah. So
beating up on myself, thinking
me
I'm a
on the sidelines
failure.
as a coach, it really, that mental, sometimes the words one uses for themselves, it really does matter. I
Yeah.
don't view it as regression whatsoever. I view it as a necessary time. Now, what would happen if you didn't start smoking? To me, it doesn't, it's like, okay, this part's coming up. This is what we do. Once the anger comes out, then the smoking is going to decrease and you're going to
That's what
find,
I hope, yeah.
yeah, and the knee, all of it. So it'll be reframed and your natural enthusiasm and your ability to naturally do this exercise again will come back.
Oh, good. I'm gonna
Yeah,
feed the dog real quick.
yeah,
Um, and I think I thought that I was regressing because I was working on my first journal entry
yeah,
to post, and I watched it. And in there, I talk about how after a certain trauma, I was like 5 years old and I had regressed to sucking my thumb and rocking and when mom had to put me in diapers for a few days because I couldn't control my bladder.
right.
And so in there I had referenced regressing.
Yeah,
And so it was kind of on my mind when I
that's right.
did this. So,
So
but
I
thank
just,
you for that, though. I needed to hear that.
because what you need
So
more
I
than anything.
have been beating up on myself. Oh, you're a fucking failure. You're not
Oh,
exercising.
no, okay.
Oh,
So,
your
right.
mom.
So what you guys need more than anything is truth. So as the coach on the sidelines, really, let me reframe it. It's not just a happy semantic dance, right? I just need to make sure you're given the tools you need, the truth. And the truth
Yeah.
is, from my perspective, I hate to see somebody go through, right? It's just as the coach, it's like, oh, that had to hurt. All of a sudden, right? Somebody gets sidelined on the field. It's like, oh, um, but in this kind of work, um, in a strange sort of way, and this is actually 100% true, if someone starts to do behaviors they previously did, in a strange sort of, I don't wish it upon them, but it's good, right? But it's not, it's one of those things that
You got to move through it again
there it is.
and
What it
not
means is
go.
you're fully tapping into that part. That part has come back alive. That part is coming out. And so now I'd rather have someone wrestle with stopping smoking again than not having tapped into it.
Oh,
Because then,
yeah. Yeah, I
okay,
agree.
there you
100%.
go. Because
Yeah.
then as you work through this, you're not going to have to work through it again.
Right? Yeah, I was thinking that too, because once I quit again, it's my hope to never go back again
It's true.
because I'll
And so,
understand it.
yeah. So it's right.
As to
Try,
where before I bullied myself into quitting smoking and then I
there you
hung
go.
onto
There you
it.
go. So now you'll once this part is able to work through the anger, then that intensity, whether eating, smoking, drink, you name whatever the compulsion is, sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it is,
Right, yeah.
then it will decrease.
Because
So
those are my two big things, cigarettes and sugar.
there you go. There you go.
Okay. So now I have the image of next time, then the following year, because we go there every summer. Dad and Grandpa had me disembowel another person.
Now it's interesting you wrote disarm. You wonder what that is.
Well, it's from dictation.
Oh, I got you.
It
Okay.
doesn't like the word disembowel. It always screws up the spelling of it.
All right.
This time they had a stool for me to stand on so that dad did not have to hold me up. I was 1 year older. Same thing. They brought someone in naked through, I'm going to put him to the ground after they whipped him, except I think I whipped him after, well, I might as well put it on there. For some reason I see it, but I don't want to put it on. Then strung him up and hung him.
This is why they want to open borders and stuff.
I watched that person struggle being hanged to death, and he was, they're fighting, trying to get loose. They're being swung over the vat of blood, the ultimate horror. Oh my God. First I'm whipped, raped, hanged, and now you're putting me over a vat of blood. you know, so that this heightened adrenaline in them. Um, threw him to the ground after I whipped him, then strung him up and hung him. I watched that person struggle being hanged to death and swung around over the vat to bleed out after I plunged the knife in their solar plexus down to their groin. This time it was a teenage boy. Again, that person was being sacrificed because they exposed secrets. And it's not that it ever went to the level of the police or anything like that. It's that they had somehow betrayed the cult. Grandpa was the head honcho and would make those decisions. Dad was only too happy to present me as the executioner, which later on, when I'm 7, 8 years old, I have a part called the executioner with the guillotine.
That's right.
Catherine would take those jobs. Catherine split off from Sarah.
Yeah.
Barry split off from Catherine later in my 20s. It had crossed my mind a few weeks ago how Barry knew how to do that in Himmler's castle.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember him being trained. I remember him being given the sword, the knife, and you know, them having me work it for a little while just to have some body memory. But since now I understand, instead of Catherine being in a barn with one person, I was split, and Barry was in a castle with many and a large sword for the job. It always blows my
Let me
mind
ask
how
you,
the
Diane,
perpetrators.
let me ask you, the name Barry, remind me, where did that name come from?
Knight. Remember your middle name, Knight? He
Yeah.
was the one in the armor. Uh, uh, oh geez, I know their new names. Janina, was it Katerina? Because Katerina split from Kitten, so Kitten
Yeah,
to
I'll tell
Cat.
you what just came to mind. Absolutely random thought, but um, Obama's name, his birth name was Barry.
Oh, really? Well,
Very
I
creative.
he wanted the name Baron, and I didn't
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Because I
I
just keep seeing that image of Obama in the
thought
devil.
devil horns. Yeah, yeah. No, he wanted the name Baron. He went from knight. He said he wanted to be a baron. I said, "Are you sure?" Because barons are perpetrators. And he went, "Oh, oh yeah, you're right. No."
I got
And
you.
he says,
I
"Well,
got
how about Barry instead of
okay.
Baron?" And
I
I
got
said, "Barry's fine."
I got you.
It always blows my mind how the perpetrators down through time know exactly how to access and activate specific killers for specific jobs or a specific sex slave for specific orgies, and how perfectly adept they are at splitting someone into a new trauma. So coming back further in time when Catherine was born, she had to twist a kitten's head in order to kill it. It was after that she was taught how to disembowel it. I did not remember that until right now. Angie and Mary were sent upstairs from the basement. Then Grandpa and Dad held the cat and guided my hand from the cat's solar plexus down to its groin, the same way that Grandma had taught Sarah to do it on that baby. They were teaching me how to disembowel it. It was a couple of days later that I disemboweled that woman. And so I figure something I need to do is sort out the timeline in Indiana because a lot of those experiences are getting twisted and contorted
Yeah.
and they're just not chronological. And then the following year, that man, I believe the woman was in her 20s and the man was a teenager, about 17. I gotta shut the door. I can feel the heat flooding in.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you here, Dixie? Yeah, okay. Oh, shoot. I just whacked my foot. I remember hearing Grandpa talk to Dad about how he had waited for months and months for us to get there so that they could take care of business, that he wanted me to do it. And the thought of waiting and thinking about it turned him on or energized him in some way, almost as though it was foreplay for him. He
Yeah.
masturbated while I killed that woman, and Dad held me up to do it. The following year, he and Dad masturbated while I stood on the platform to do it. It was the same way that they had masturbated while me, Angie, and Mary were being tortured by the snakes and the lamprey. It's just so disgusting and depraved. I also just recalled after those two people were whipped by me. Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Grandpa and Dad raped them. And that's when they were killed, then thrown to the ground like they were trash. Then they were strung up and swung over, struggling. Then I killed them. I keep feeling shudders going down my spine as I recall it, and my stomach is churning. So the sequence of events was they'd be brought in, tied to like a pole or a piece of wood in the barn, and I'd whip the shit out of them. They'd be thrown down. Dad and Grandpa would each have their turn raping them. After that was done, they're pretty spent, catatonic anyway. They'd wrap the rope around them, string them up, swing them over that vat, and then I would disembowel them. I keep wondering why they have an obsession with collecting the entrails to chop it up and put it in the blood. The entrails would just have that nasty digestive stuff in it. I kept thinking, why would they want the intestines and stuff? Perhaps, and then it dawned on me, perhaps it was the adrenochrome that they were after. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. No, my goodness, I just realized that. They must have cut out the adrenal gland, and I have to look up where that's located in the body. And so I did. And wham, bam, this is where the solar plexus is, right? The adrenal gland is right there. So if you cut there, you're going to get right next to it, and they were always very careful to say, go straight back. It's a specific thing, because if you did it the wrong way, you'd be, might cut that gland itself. So you start at the solar plexus and go down, and they pull the guts out. I think it was to make way so they could get their hand in there and pull it out. So, oh my goodness, that's exactly where the knife is placed in the solar plexus. I remember seeing Grandma reach up and pull out a piece of meat. I didn't know what that was. It's the top part of the kidneys has the adrenal gland. And that's why they disembowel, so they have easy access to it. The same thing at Himmler's Castle. After I disemboweled those people, the butcher came behind me and collected the adrenal glands in the blood. I just always thought they were going for the intestines and stuff, but that's not it. They'd pull that out of the way so they could get the adrenal gland.
Is that right?
Yeah. I just sent those images of where it's located to my email. I got to come in the house now and yeah, and my knee flared up just a little, like little 5%. I was like, okay. It's about 20 minutes later. I just remembered that when Dad lifted me up, swung me onto the platform, he whacked my right knee, the same knee, on the edge of that platform. I remember having to stand up there and do that while my knee was hurting. And then when they set me back down, I was limping. And then I did a TED talk for my GI tract, my lungs, and my knee. So let me save that. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, the two pictures. And then I looked up, okay, adrenal glands, symptoms of having adrenal fatigue, right? Because all of us would have this, right? Our adrenaline's getting all pumped up, whatever, so you get tired. You're coping with stress, brain fog. But look at this, craving sweet or salty foods. Now, if they're feeding that to me, it's screwing up that system of my adrenals, right? Yeah. So I'm like, I thought, oh my God, is that why I crave sweet and salty food? Sweet's more than salt, but and yeah, the digestive problems and weight gain. and your muscle, it occurred to me, this is all the body memory stuff, the digestive and the body memory and whatever. But I was like, oh my God, it all made sense when I saw that. The adrenal crisis. I mean, that's when your own adrenal gland is screwed up. But imagine having to ingest it, because that'll get in your blood. And
Yeah.
I would imagine that it would stimulate your own adrenaline to pump up even more because it's got more added in there. I mean, just as a guess. But isn't that why they they drink the blood of people who've been terrorized, because the cortisol and the adrenaline floods the blood,
Yeah.
right? And they want to drink that. And so it's pumping them up, and it's supposed to be keep them youthful or something. I don't know.
That's
But
right.
these people are just insane. Just insane.
Well,
But
they're demon possessed.
yeah, and I think you saw this. I
Well,
called it.
let's go through this. I saw it, but walk me through what
Well,
you
what
got.
I did was I picked these people, these parts, I call them people.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let's give them their own column. And I did that. I was like, okay, I put the dates. I thought I'll just start when I bought Ted was about this time period. And then this was the day I was doing it. And I thought, okay, well, Trip, who is Trip angry with? In real life. I thought, well, it's my mom. Well, in the parts pile, he was pissed off at Teresa, Sandy, and Martha. Not really at Sandy, but Sandy was so sad. They were all intertwined. And I thought, well, okay, let's now that it's, a month and a half later and Ted's and Trip's been working out, where are you at, Trip?
Okay, so okay. Yep.
So here, oops, shoot. So,
Okay, I didn't see the names. That's what I was looking. Okay,
okay. So here's Trip.
yeah.
He was just all angry. But he's like, I said, okay, Trip, where are you at? I think,
This is magnificent, Diana. For
yeah.
people to be
So
able to see this.
he chose the levels.
There you go.
I kept trying to guess at it. And finally I thought, just ask them. And
Good.
so they were like, I would kind of hover and they'd go right there. I said, you're
Wow.
here? Yeah. And so then I said, okay, well, Teresa, she was the one that told and got in trouble and was tortured. So she had despair over telling and anger, but her anger is reduced. But now she's a little scared, but her despair is going almost away. But she's also has happiness and peace. And I kept thinking, should I add in here? I can't remember what it was now, like distraction or naivete. But they're like, no, no, they seem good with these 5 columns, because
Okay.
some people have peace, but they're not happy. Some people
Okay.
are happy, but anyway, so that was Teresa's before and after. Here's Sadie. She was always sad and despair. Oh my God, life's awful. But her anger is now rising.
Okay, and that's a wonderful sign.
And she's a little fearful about the
Mhm.
anger, but she's not quite so sad. So it dawned on me that this is like level 1 TED work.
Yep.
So I need to make another page,
Good for you. Good for you.
and Sandy will be the head of the level 2. And she'll, as the despair goes down, I think her anger will rise.
That's spot on.
And then
100%.
so her anger will go down and someone else's will come up. You know what
There
I
we go.
mean?
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
then
Okay, this is wait, but
Martha,
this is so key what you're doing, because this will be the actual monitor. Why do the venting? Why do this
right. Because
this
like
is
for
measuring.
Trip, it's not all the way gone.
There you go.
He's like, oh, that's cool because Teresa took on some of it.
Okay.
Sandy
Good.
took on some of it.
Okay, but
Martha,
this is the progress.
yes,
This
yeah.
is this
There's
is
still anger in there,
yep.
but yeah,
How can there
it's
not
not
be?
all
Right?
on that one part anymore.
Wow. This is
Yeah.
beautiful.
And so my mom had no anger. She was just always afraid, didn't trust herself, despair and fear, despair and fear.
Yeah.
But now she wants to go beat the snot out of Ted
Good,
because,
good, good.
God damn it, why didn't I listen
There you
to
go.
myself sooner? Why didn't I? You
Diana,
know,
you're on to, okay, what you've just created here, right, will be the makings of, you could invite people to do their own. So this is perfect, okay? And
but you have
then
to go through all those stages of
and then
reps
to send
before
you
you
the
can
results.
figure it out.
They
Yeah.
could share with you the results. So you're gonna, I mean, in a way, this could be its own study. So based upon a
Yeah.
thousand, 100 survivors, here's what
And
happened.
I don't know how scientific this is, but it's more
It's
because I
very
just sat
scientific.
there and asked my parts, where are you at? Where are you? Are you
Well,
mad? Are
right,
you?
there's two ways to do
And I
research.
just let them put it on
That's
here.
right, Diane. There's two ways to do research. One is the quantitative, right, 4 out of 5 dentists kind of thing. This is qualitative, right?
Yeah.
This is field research. And so I mean, this is, how about this? We have all heard of economic misery index. Well, it's subjective. Well, it
Oh,
matters.
sure. Yeah, you're
And
right.
so
There are
this is a
subjective.
very bona fide method of research. It's interview, it's self-reports. It's a
Yeah.
Likert scale. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you, absolutely it is.
Yeah. And see, like here, I placed a blank one in there
Yeah.
because it needs to be anger level 2. Right? But before I did that, I did the sadness one, which you didn't get because it just occurred to me this morning. But anyway, we'll go back into here.
Matter of fact, let me add this, Diana, to help you understand how cutting edge. Hold on, that's a horrible term. Um, but really, how important what you're just doing now, and really what you're doing is you're creating curriculum, quite frankly. Okay, now think about, you're providing a tool for, and this is so perfect because you have outlined different parts and different starting or beginning emotional states, which
Yeah,
range,
the parts
right?
that are mad.
There you
Yeah.
go. But there's a lot that have absolutely no anger or subjectively what they feel like. So you're giving people, here's where you may be starting out. Some people feel the
Mhm.
anger, some people don't. Okay. And therefore you have a before, and then they can have their own chart. And what you're teaching, what you're modeling through this is DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy for borderline, which is actually just shifting of parts. I really like how Frank Anderson says it, that he's never met somebody with borderline who doesn't have parts. Okay, so
Right.
with this in front of somebody, now they have a way of tapping in what's
A
called
bit
mindfulness.
just visualizing it.
It's
Yeah.
just mindfulness. Now, for the very first time, they're starting to understand their emotional repertoire. So let's say one now. So I'm looking at Diana's chart. I'm looking at the starting places that you can have a whole range of different scenarios. I feel anger. One doesn't feel any anger, but you're going to give people.
Yeah.
It's like, well, trust me. Here's the
Yeah,
different
that was
combinations.
Martha.
So that's right. And after you vent, right, so you can help people understand, here's a blank one. After you vent, get in touch with yourself and now mark it.
Yeah, and this took the creation of the chart itself. I had actually horizontally, but it didn't work, so I had to reverse it. And once I put it vertically,
There
it
you go.
made sense.
There you go.
So, yeah,
They're really inviting people to tap into, to be aware of their feelings, and they're starting to notice there's a difference. And the most important one is, for the very first time, people are starting to experience the positive feeling, like I'm feeling less anxious, but tranquil. So it's not just
yeah,
as one
yeah.
goes down, the other will go up.
Yeah, and I thought my first thought was, well, okay, he was at a 10. So if he's at a 5 now, that these two need to equal 5. And he's like, no,
No, that's right.
no, it's not mathematical, it's
They're good. That's
emotional.
right. That's
And the
right.
reason that he has happiness isn't so much because anything in particular. Well, he said, I'm just happy that I exist to you and you're willing to listen to me. And now that my anger is reduced, he feels more peaceful
But you know, how about
and
satisfaction and
happy.
contentment? Satisfaction, contentment. That may be in there as well,
Let me write that down. Yes.
right? Because sometimes the semantics.
Yeah. Oops.
And any other words that come to mind. Now, what's interesting, and 100% is not mathematical, but look at peace and happiness. We've got a 3 and a 2, and they equal what? And look at
It's a
how much.
5. Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
But that doesn't work the same
No,
for
no, right?
yeah.
We don't want people to assume, but they shouldn't be surprised that as there's sort of a correlation between as one comes down, the other will
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Well, like with this one, she had all this anger and
There you
despair.
go.
She's the one that she told mom. Tripp finally split off from his anger and split and became Teresa and told mom she was the tattletale, right? But and she did it because Tripp was furious, but because she did it, she went into despair because she got tortured over it.
Yeah,
So her despair is minimal now. She's
that's right.
somewhat peaceful, but she's more happy
There you go.
because she finally fulfilled her purpose. She can tell,
There we go.
and I don't know if what an 8 and a 3 equals 11, it doesn't equal 10.
Oh,
There's
that's
more,
right. That's
there is like more. So
now what?
that's when I realized it can't be
No,
mathematical.
that's right. That's right. It's just now the ability to experience
She's
the other
overjoyed.
emotion.
She's
Right.
overjoyed. Not only are we telling you, we told Chris some of it, now we're telling the world on video. She's
There we
like,
go.
yeah, that's my whole purpose.
There we go.
I want to tell.
Now, what's interesting, Diana, is this. I could give a diagnosis for every one of the before, right? And what you're showing is, for instance, high despair, and a lot of people, what is Sandy? Go down to Sandy's.
She was
Okay.
someone in sadness after
Okay,
she
there.
told and
Now,
was
this
tortured.
Sandy would be the class. I'll tell you what, if Sandy went to some quote unquote mental health professional, she would be listed as major depression. So she
Given
has a
drugs.
depressive disorder. But
Yeah.
look at the reality.
No,
So this,
yeah. Yeah.
so you're helping, well, and look at Martha. She'd be given an anxiety disorder.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
guess what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So
She's allowing herself to get
there
mad.
you go. There you go. So the
Yeah.
answer, what you're doing is the answer to virtually, unless there's an actual organic issue, which is very rare, quite frankly. So the answer to all mental health diagnosis are TED Talks.
Beating up Ted.
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. This
Yeah.
is phenomenal, right?
So,
Because on the
and I
before,
had to go back to here saying, well, how are they different? Yeah, they're all angry, but how are they different? We're like, okay, righteous indignation. Tripp is just furious. He just has
yeah,
fury.
yeah,
And so as I went back here, that's where those labels started to come into play. I was like, okay, these guys are just frustrated. Quit fucking with me, quit fucking with me, kind of frustration.
yep,
These were people punished for something they didn't even do,
there you go.
and these my killers,
Yeah.
and these were irritation, be it mental, but mostly physical, skin irritation.
Oh, that's
You
good.
know, the electrocution would my skin became irritated and dry. Jackie was in a barn and had hay irritation on her skin. Rocky was in a bush with bugs crawling on him. Skin irritation. Pins had things stuck into her. Irritation. Stretch was hanging and electrocuted. So and Armstrong, same thing, electrocution. So that's why they were irritated, not
And this is
mentally, but
beautiful.
physically.
Diana, this is beautiful as well. Go down for a moment because you can then measure if you see any part. So, oh, I'm sorry, go back up. Who do we have there? So stretch. So now you can see if you have a part that doesn't
Oh,
have
I
the
didn't even fill this. Oh, because he didn't have a I don't think I've accessed stretch yet.
Okay, but isn't that interesting? You actually, with what you're creating, you're helping someone be able to identify one part that hasn't done the work yet.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I
And so,
realized that as I was doing this. Yeah, Trips had a lot of turns. And so had, Barry. Let me show you Barry, who
but
was
it's really
nice.
good because all of a sudden, as you're going through it, I noticed, oh, look at that one. We don't have any anger yet for that one.
Yeah, yeah. Where are my killers? Shit. Here we go. Barry. He
This is
only
somebody
lived for
which,
that. He only had that one day in Himmler's castle where he killed 13 people and disemboweled them. He was accessed his anger to do it. He was fearful to not do it. He said, but he's had so much time on Ted with his knife. He's now about training. He's peaceful and happy. He's not pissed off anymore. He's
wow.
just happy to be training. He just wants to train with the knife. That's
Okay,
all he wants to do.
now think about, okay, this one's so profound as well. Diana, you've got this, I'm telling you, right? This, this is what's going to help
Oh,
people.
I should put on here,
Great.
Barry.
Okay, so I just want to tell you how crucial what you're doing right here. Okay, because it doesn't exist. You're creating something that does not exist. Okay, so you're giving people a quantifiable and measurable and visual, it's sort of like
I
the,
wish think about if you only had 30 parts, how quickly you could move through
right?
this,
Okay, but this is, you're handing a survivor now the very objective thing, like, why is it worth it? Can I get through this? Now it's like, wait a second. So there's actually something I can do to help myself heal, to measure my own progress.
Mm-hmm.
Think about with Barry, what he was subjected to is absolutely so heinous.
He was more mentally disgusted because he had such physical, he had the body memory of the knife, so it wasn't so much of a learning curve for him. He was more terrified of the situation.
There you go.
And he accessed his anger to do the job, right? But now that it's over, he knows he's not going back there ever again. He's just all about making sure he stays in training and he's fit and healthy. So if someone comes after him, he can handle it.
There you go. Now, what you're
Yeah.
showing people is this, that it is possible more and more, because look at, where did his anger go? Where did his fear go? So now
He's
Barry,
just
now
done. He's
again,
done.
there will be some that it's going to take longer and longer and longer. This makes sense because he was, it happened.
Yeah, he only lived for 12 hours
Okay,
and was
now,
never accessed
um,
again.
what's so important is this gives people hope that little by little, there is the ability to
Have
start to
peace and
experience
happiness.
and be in the moment.
Yes, yes.
It's
But now, if I stop training with the big knife that he likes,
yep.
he might start getting fearful again or
There you go.
angry
So it's a
again.
constant. You just got to keep, right. You're processing it. You're keeping on top of it. Uh,
Yeah.
your finger on the pulse, so to speak. But this is
So,
the work you're doing here is just absolutely phenomenal. This doesn't exist.
yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Like Eliza, that was the guillotine and then the butcher shop with the guillotine, that machine that was like a guillotine. She was just fearful all the time, constantly. She
There you
didn't
go.
need anger to do her job. The machine did it for her. So she just did it out of being petrified.
There you go.
But now she's pissed off.
There you
She
go.
is pissed off. She's happy and peaceful that it's been exposed, that she's shown me that she's been accepted. She's approved as a part, she's got a new name, right? But now she's like, okay, it's time, since Barry doesn't need so much time on Ted, it's her
Yeah.
turn.
Okay, Diana, I
She
cannot
wants to.
emphasize how much this is really the culmination of all the work you're doing. This This chart right here is going to be gold for people.
Oh, well, good. I'm trying to, I gotta find a software like yours, that free flow thing where I can record my talk, but also bring up slides and discuss it like we are right now. It just dawned on me, this needs to be their old name.
Okay, good.
This needs to be their new name. So
And maybe then outline or give it a background color. Each part has its own, because then visually it's like, okay, I know who that is before and after, or starting, maybe that starting and current state.
yeah, I thought about that, but I got 130 parts. That's
No, I know.
130 colors.
Or, at least
Well,
separate.
and that's why I did at the very, very top.
Yeah,
I colored the anger part
yeah.
names. So
Or as you're
anyway.
doing this, then just maybe have the two columns, because it's a little bit, look at a glance. It almost looks like Lance's continues on. I'm just as an outsider
Okay, okay.
reading this. So if there
Or
weren't,
yeah, maybe yeah.
no,
Okay.
I'd have you break it out. Again, just a suggestion, because right now, as looking at it, I think it'll be all the more powerful if you were to take that second column and just continue on with one. Um,
You mean remove this
each
column here?
individual part then really stands out. So right now, if
You
as
mean
you're,
like remove this? Like that?
no, I'm sorry. No, everything is absolutely just fine. But if you were to pan back, so give a more wide view.
Yeah, yeah,
There we
it's
go.
very busy.
There we go.
It's very busy. Yeah.
So it's perfect. So maybe a couple of combinations, because if you just have the two columns, or if you have
Oh man, now I can't
one
see.
line per part, then visually it's like it's easy to track. Then I can see, oh, there's Lance, that progression. So just
Oh
another
yeah,
thought,
it will keep getting wider over time. Yeah. Oh,
but
now
just
it's stuck.
just vertical rather than having some of the names, but you've got a couple of different concepts going. So all of it's perfect. I'm just giving you a little feedback that
Yeah,
an
it's
outsider looking at it, if I
stuck
just
now.
if I just saw the progression of Lance, the progression of just one per line, then it really.
Oh yeah, like Lance would have his own page, you mean?
Or no, just separate line, meaning on the Excel spreadsheet. I mean, what you got going, 100% perfect. But for the visual presentation, to be able to have them not on not multiple names per page, but just one column with however
Okay,
many.
one column per page. Gotcha. Yeah.
Or you can
So
have that ongoing Excel
Fury
spreadsheet.
would be one page, irritation another page.
Or no, on the same spreadsheet, Lance, so you just have Lance, then drop down. So
What's
it's not
happening?
Lance and then another name. So just look at a glance. It's gonna make the total document, 3 or 4 times as long, but instead of having Lance and then another name and then another name horizontally, bring it all just vertically.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because yeah, you're right. Because in time, Lance is going to have another chart for 3 months from now, and you want to see his levels change.
That's right. And look at a glance. So the viewer, like what my eyes do
It's
is,
stuck now. I'm going to have to close this and
oh,
reopen it.
okay. Because just as an outsider looking at it, when you brought that chart up, it looks like Olive Lance.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah. So
Just
I think
bringing
I
it
can make
down
the different
where each have their own line. I mean, it's going to expand it like 5 times in terms of depth or height. Um,
yes,
but that
yes.
way, when somebody looks at that, it's purely Lance.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
But what you've got is so perfect, because then go back up, because you're getting at the qualitative. See, this is perfect anyways. So okay, here we go. Ready? Okay, see, that's perfect, because you've got
Yeah,
the
here's
different
Lance.
senses. That's right. So this chart, and then one per person. I
Yeah.
don't know, or one per. Boy, it's really hitting me now.
Well, yeah, and see this column here, which will become its own page. You're right, because
That's okay. Perfect. Right. So what would be interesting
see,
is I'm giving you more work. Okay, this is perfect. And then to isolate it out just in Excel spreadsheet um, with each part, just have it. So when I see Lance, I can just see the progression of his emotions.
right, and not scratchy over here and so over here.
But
Yeah,
it's so
that
good
makes
because
more
you've
sense.
got
Yeah.
this is perfect. Like I love this. Different combinations of you're getting across different things with each of these. So,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. But then, yeah, look at a glance for presentation purposes, breaking out each individual part. You can stack them on top of each other, but just like here's the story of Lance. Here's the transition.
Yeah. Yeah.
This visual.
Yeah.
Sorry
And
about all
see,
that.
because Lance held the anger for all of the killers. Granted,
Yes.
Frick and Frack had a little bit of their own, Joker. They
Okay.
each had a
Okay.
little bit, but Lance held the anger for all of them.
Okay, so
You
know what
know,
might be interesting with that? I'm just going to throw it out. To start with some sort of Excel spreadsheet, but over time as you were doing it. So we start with Lance having full anger, but then as different ones were venting to watch, I don't know how you'd even do this, but to watch Lance
yeah, because his anger is dissipating a little bit,
there. Oh gosh. Huh,
right? But
how
this
you do it
guy,
dynamically.
Wolf, has picked some up who
There
didn't
we
have
go.
any before. And Joker's is reduced a little bit.
Okay, could you go back
Jonathan,
up, Diana? I'm sorry. Could you go back up? So maybe that's what I was missing. Go back all the way to the top to Lance. Okay, so you do have okay, that you've got a big margin. Now I'm seeing, okay,
because
now it makes,
he's still not peaceful or happy. He's still holding it for all these other
there you
guys,
go, right? So you're then,
right?
okay, and that's perfect too. Meaning capture this, make sure you retain this one as the progression because you're going to be able to help people see that okay, he's still got a lot. It's exactly what we talked about. So we know that okay, so and so still has to do work. You can really isolate it down. But I see the separation visually with the gray. So
That's why I put that there. So I
yeah,
can,
okay, that's good. That's
yeah.
good. Boy, there's so much you're doing. You're
But
doing
the gray sections are each one of the anger parts has a
yeah,
section. But then it dawned on me this morning. I thought, well, sadness is just repressed anger.
100%.
So sad. I created this today and I just put the grid work in here and I thought, okay, I put each person on there and I thought, well, if I were to categorize them like I did the other ones, what is she sad about? Well, she exposed things. This one's sad about family,
Oh,
my
this,
mom and my sisters. This one's sad about my friends fucking me over.
there we
This
go.
one's sad about life failure. And that was it for this sadness thing. And I still need to fill these in, but I figured out, I think so far, just parts. I was sad with my sisters here. And maybe I need to add my mom in there.
This is phenomenal. Diana, let me ask just from a and so
So,
my apologies. So some of the comments may not um pertain. Now that I'm really seeing this, would you be able to, would it make sense? I mean, only you guys go with what you want. I'm just as an outsider giving you feedback. If you could take the gray column and maybe expand it by double.
oh, okay. Yeah, see, I was doing it to try to get it to fit on a
Oh, absolutely.
paper,
But you know what? Just see if you could. Okay, now scroll out
Oh, okay.
just for a
Oh,
second.
right. I see where you're going.
Just,
So that
just
I could show it.
okay. Now, yeah, now scroll out just for effect.
Oh, yeah.
You see
Yeah.
there, that right? As an outsider looking in, now
It's
I can see
easier to see.
that's the only
Well,
thing that was missing.
I think what needs to happen is this needs to be its own page, because 2 months from now, I'll add a column and
But
see if
certainly
it's
retain
grown.
this because this, I think there is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
for grouping it all together and then going to its old page. But that's the only thing that was missing visually for me. So if
Okay,
you,
sure.
right, because
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, okay, I see that that's a separate, that was the only sticking point for visually. I wasn't totally, it wasn't
No,
syncing.
that's great. It
So
didn't
that one
occur to
little
me that
change, visually, it's
I
like,
just kept
okay,
thinking about it being on paper for me to look at.
yeah, no, that's
But
right. But
it,
just so
it
you
needs
know,
to be for everyone else to see as
as you, there
well.
you go.
Yeah.
So as you're presenting, now it's like, okay, these are separate and distinct. And
Yeah, for
then
sure.
it
Yeah.
might be, you know what, you might have accomplished it going the other way too, horizontally, if you want to group them out. But that's for, you keep toying it, but that's very effective visually for the audience to see or the viewer.
Okay.
Now it really stands out. You're spot on right now.
Okay. So yeah,
That's
I'll
all it
do
took.
that.
Now it's like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, this because
There
oh,
we go. There we
shoot.
go.
Because this is just one part on
Yep.
top who's
Yep.
furious. And who did he affect? Who
There
is
you
he
go.
pissed off at?
That's beautiful. Isn't that funny? It just took that one thing. It's like, oh, now I see it. There
Yeah,
you
and
go.
then
There you
this
go.
was, righteous
There
indignation.
you
Mike
go.
is furious. So who's he mad at? And then frustration. Who are you frustrated with? And injustice. Who was wronged you? Who punished you that should not have? Or the killers, that's obvious. All the killers.
That is so beautiful, Diana, because you can see then it's exactly what you said, but just to reemphasize, you're doing beautiful work. This is cutting edge. This is going to be the key to the healing. How do you measure, and the work how much work is to be done? Because visually now, I as a viewer,
Yeah.
we're doing
So
beautiful work.
yeah,
Now,
and then the horizontal, I think I should keep this main page, but I'll take a page and do just,
spot on,
right,
100%,
and
because
another page for just
this
the,
is so beautiful because now, as an outsider looking in, what you're giving to the survivor that's going to be looking at this is a way of seeing, like, okay, upper left-hand corner, I've got all the anger. The more I do the
yeah,
venting, it's going to distribute that, and then each part can do its own work. So this is the amount that has to be distributed. He's holding all this anger for this category. So it's like now you can almost do, okay, come on, team. We got work to do. Nobody's holding out.
right. And now I know who to give attention to on
This
TED.
is magnificent, Diana.
Like
I
these
want
three need to
you to know
work on TED. All the
this is
ones that have no red need their turn
there.
on TED. Because
This
it's
is
so easy
magnificent.
for me to go out there and always access Trip.
There.
I can always access, these guys. Here is the one that I thought was interesting.
But Diana, this is magnificent. I
When I
want
got to, because I put boyfriend because I thought if I present this, I don't want him to. But it was funny because I should have put this on top, but I put it chronologically for some reason. But so Bump had the despair, Choke was always fearful, but Punch came along and said, accessed somebody's anger,
Yep.
probably Trip or
Yep.
maybe Injustice.
Yep.
Who's Injustice? I forget who that is. Oh, Randy. Yeah, Rub Rub. He was unjustly. So it started off, Punch was able to punch and get her anger out.
Yep.
And all of them, I'll pull this out, they didn't need to go through that phase
Okay,
of
good.
anger. They're
That's
like,
right.
oh, okay, good. Punch took care of it for all of us,
There we go.
right? Because all they had the despair and the fear. But Punch handled it by punching, right? And all of them are peaceful now because they know, should he turn into, Mr. Asshole again, I know how to handle it.
There you go.
And so Zoe is not so much, and she's got some happiness. These guys are not happy yet, but they are peaceful about it. Like it's, your problem. I don't have to be anxious anymore.
And that's such a beautiful example right there.
So I need to trade this one and this one, so the anger one's on top.
Okay. But
Because
there's something,
punch is here.
but that's really neat also to show the chronology. That in the current day, so what you show with that one is you're giving hope for a survivor that there's really the process of venting, right? Sometimes you have to go back to the specific memory, you've got to get that up, or sometimes to remember one incident is to remember it all. The
Yeah.
stuff that happens a lot. And so the benefit then of being able to, in the current day, you're giving hope to survivors with that, which is, oh, you mean I can actually tap into something that's been going on now, and it'll have an effect
There
both
we go.
in past. So
Yeah.
it's banded together, and now the effect is exactly that.
Yeah. So this is more appropriate because punch is the angry part.
There you go.
Like Angie, she's beat on Ted for a while and she's dissipated her anger towards these guys that have fucked her over.
There you go.
And now she doesn't feel a need to go out there anymore.
Really what you're doing, Diana, and if and when you finally present this, it'll be very interesting if you want to have survivors send you their charts. You then can do a study on the efficacy of venting before and after, and this entire process, right? It's very legitimate research.
Yeah.
How did you feel before? How do you feel after?
Yeah.
So
I find it fascinating that Lance holds the anger for all of these parts. I mean, that's a lot of parts, all the killing.
boy, adding that extra
Or
space,
no, this is the killing. This was oppression, a lot of oppression.
100%. That's
You
a really
know,
important word to bring out because that's globally, because that's what scripture uses. It uses the word oppression as the overall umbrella for any kind of injustice.
oh, wow. I just was trying to think of how are these guys different in their anger? And they told me, I'm furious, I'm frustrated, I'm irritated.
There you go.
I'm wrongly accused. I'm being oppressed. And this was just about, and that goes with oh geez. This thing here, how I'm doing okay if I meet Chris, and all of a sudden I'm splitting into these parts. It's like
Sure.
you're pissed off about that. It should have just been this beautiful progression of life, but now we're getting fucked with again.
That's right.
So that's why I added that column, because punch was righteous. Where am I at? So had not had his issues and given me issues, this column wouldn't even be here. But I would imagine that so many of us have had relationships where we chose the wrong people. And so there's issues just with that,
Correct.
so. But yeah, I know the ones that have no red in them are the ones that need their turn on Ted. Like these two guys haven't changed at all. They're just floating around in space waiting for me to recognize them. And that was, because I printed these pages up and I would take them out there from time to time, but I get so emotionally wrapped up in taking care of Tripp's this immediate stuff, I forget all about the rest.
Yeah.
But now that I see it like this, I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah,
Here's what,
Tripp still needs a little work, but let's focus more on Lance now. Lance hasn't really, or this one here, whatever. But this morning it dawned on me, yeah, I need to do one for sadness,
Okay. Okay.
and broke that out. And then I'm like, okay, so the next step was once these guys really start shifting and their water levels change, to do anger level 2, because now Trip is peaceful, but so and so is furious,
There we go.
right? And so let's make a whole new thing for that. But yeah, okay.
Now, the work you're doing, you're doing it for yourself, but this,
And I started this off with a PowerPoint with the cylinders, but it was so tedious because you had to create 2 cylinders for
Yeah.
each bar.
That's right. That's right.
And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to. I spent like an hour doing that. I was like, no, this is too much work. An
Yeah,
Excel sheet will do it just nicely.
that's right.
So that's when I moved over. And I did it, like I said, horizontally, but it just, I couldn't see it. And I was like, oh, well, let's reverse it. And
But
so,
it's also
yeah, it
beautiful
worked.
because you've got within those containers, you had everybody's name, which is really the first place somebody has to begin, because you recognize what parts of me are angry, what parts, and then you're going into the more granular level.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like I said, right now, I'm realizing they started off, that's where they started. That's their old name.
There we go.
And so, granted, Trip hasn't changed his name yet, but these guys have. So that was um not my mom. What did
Anna,
I?
this is phenomenal. I want you to know.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah,
This is going to be the key. This is, you're now handing the instrument panel to somebody, right? As they're flying their plane, here are the dials, right?
yeah,
It's like, okay,
yeah.
where am I? Here's the measurable way of, this is the tangible, right? It's the measurement panel or the instrument panel. It's like we got all the dials,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
they're able to really then hone in on
Well, and it's like I'm thinking a lot of people are lazy, John. They really
100%,
are.
100%,
And if
Diana.
you're not willing to, I mean, yeah, I'll make templates for you and make them available through your website or something, and please go use them. But I'm thinking of 100 people, how many people are going to do this?
Well, and I'm thinking this is where maybe intensive retreat seminars where you're going to be a part of that. So it's either a combination, you present it live, or one of the presentations gets videotaped. So now you then show up, at the one day of a group who have taken time out. They're doing an
Yeah,
intensive
because
treatment.
I
They're
could not have
process.
gotten here without making the graphs of like what you did, the timeline and the plus minus. Okay. And then that evolved into
This then will,
PowerPoint and
it's available to everybody, meaning you're going to be made, but I could see where you have the folks that are really serious about it, they're going to take a week away. Maybe there's sponsorship, whatever, but the ones you're standing in front of are the ones that are going to be using this, that in one way or another, you'll have the ability to speak into their lives. You're talking to the upper echelon, the other special ops.
well, yeah, or just take a week off of work
That's right. Because
and
then
and
they're
and
serious.
spend 8 hours a day working on this.
That's right.
Once a year, take a week off of work and do this. Or
But how
twice
many
a
people
year.
aren't going to do that? But if they were to say, I'm taking a week off, I'm flying to such and such a place.
In order to focus on this.
There.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like a therapeutic retreat. And so what do they do with the therapeutic retreat? We go through your journey, right?
Yeah.
And so now so now they have a template like, okay, like the football field. Here's what happens in the beginning stage, middle stage, end stage here, right? So it's just phenomenal what you're doing.
Yeah, this is, yeah, you can see it a lot better like this
Yeah.
now. But yeah, imagine at the point where this section has it'll have three sections. Okay, here's where we started, here's where we are 6 weeks later, here's where we are
Right. It's
6 months later, whatever.
tracking one's progress.
Yeah, yeah. And
Right.
ultimately, I should have one just large one for the overall present time me.
Wow. So here,
You know,
this is,
saying, yeah, my anxiety's
there we
reduced
go.
and
There we
my
go.
peaceful levels
For the
up.
overall system called Diana, right? The body.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could, I was just thinking, you could even put this on for physical symptoms,
100%.
you know,
100%.
body memory. Okay, my knee was at 100%. I worked on TED, now it's down to 60%. And I
Okay.
worked on TED, now it's down to 10, down to 5. And
There we
today
go.
it's like 1%, it's barely there.
And over what span of time and how long had you suffered with knee problems?
Oh my God. Oh my God, like 8 or 12 weeks just this summer. And then the year before I screwed it up, and that was like a 6 week ordeal. And I've got all I have to do is look in my closet. I've got wrist braces, I got knee braces, I've got, and I even noticed my thumbs have issues. And I thought, well, I need to start beating on the thumb stuff. I don't even know what it's, I mean, I have, a couple of ideas where it's from, but like, why are my thumbs going tingly? Or why are they
Okay, there we
hurting?
go.
Or, and will that get rid of arthritis?
I'm telling you.
Imagine. Is this
Frank
mind
Anderson
blowing?
talked about rheumatoid arthritis, that a part had locked up joints
Yeah.
because they were tired of the person um, always having to serve others, right?
Oh,
So, but
wow.
this is all the more powerful because this is connected to memories. So as the memories are
Yes.
paying us
Yeah.
all the time.
There we go. Okay. So, but yeah, that'll be my next stage is to chart out the sadness and figure out, well, Ophelia's pissed off at her friend. Well, what part is that in me that behaves like that?
Okay, good.
Or Louisa feels like a failure in life because I'm smoking and I'm not exercising. And, she's, Sarge is pissed off we're not working out, but, whatever. So, but yeah, I need to start accessing these sad parts so that their anger will come up and they can beat it out.
There we go. There we go.
And then I think the next level here will be anger level 2. Well, now that Trip has no more anger, who picked it up? Who's carrying it? Who's the second string?
There we go.
And then we do second string anger here.
That's
And
beautiful.
and just keep building it out and building it out and building it out. And like I said, good Lord, 100 and however, I don't even know how many parts I have anymore. I don't. It's like 136 or something. Let's see. I always have to look at it. I used to always know for sure. And I don't. 155, but I think I got to minus the top line. Yes, 154 parts. That's a lot of people to keep track of. It really is. You
And
know,
that's where who's the eagle or who's the
Tasmania.
okay. So in a way now that her purpose is changing,
Oh, okay. Tasmania can keep track.
that's caretaking now. So instead of controlling now, it's caretaking.
Okay, all right. Yeah, well, caretaking. We got to give well, I guess I don't know. If Tasmania is the eagle, then the beetle is an actual part too.
Yeah, I would
It's like a
probably
coordinator
there you go. There you go.
for the killers,
That's right.
which I wonder if that's Lance.
Could be. They'll
Yeah.
have a
And then
sense,
there's
right?
like a coordinator for the sex slaves, the butterfly.
There we
I
go.
keep thinking, is Kitten the butterfly? I
Right?
think so,
That'll
but
be
I'm not
very interesting,
sure.
right? That's going to be where you're going to
Because
court.
the scientific programming access the SRA programming.
Correct.
And I
That's
think
what happens.
gave them different purposes. So
That's exactly what happens.
I'm thinking I don't think it's an extra separate part. I think they just gave an old part new purposes
I think you're spot on.
and a new way of organizing it.
I think you're on top of it
Like
right
my
there.
file clerk is the Lily. It's Lily.
I really think you're onto it. So this will be crucial too, because think of some of the teaching out there. So you're going to be able to really clarify that is.
Who is what and where and when and
There you go.
how.
'Cause I really do think MK Ultra just layers on top of the dynamic that's already been created.
Well, have you listened to the end of Gray's thing?
Not
Where,
yet.
where you get to hear the actual woman programming you?
Yes, I heard that. I heard that.
Well, remember she says in there, now go back and access every memory you have, and now you're going to lay it out in this. So that's, and I wonder if the parts Gray did not air were the ones saying, okay, well, who's the organizer? You're now file cabinet.
See, there you go.
Yes, you're now so and so. If it went into that kind of detail, and even if it didn't, the person's mind is like, for me, I associate all the sexual stuff with Kitten, even though I don't even know how many evolutions of sex slaves. Kitten seems to be the main person.
Yeah, she was the original one to have to absorb it first.
Well, actually, Jackie was Caroline. The very first she was raped by the animal. So she was the first, well, I guess she wasn't a sex slave per se, but she was the first one.
Well, this is
But yeah, maybe it is Kitten then, because then all the others came after that. I don't have that thing open anymore. Yeah, I do.
Daniel, let me do
So
this.
yeah, here's Kitten. Yeah. Okay, do you need to
Unfortunately,
go?
yeah, I got another client. Dang it.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Okay, if I were you, okay, if I were, you know, take a momentary, but keep with it. You got the good juices going, or whatever.
Well, you
You're
just
running
helped me
slow.
sort out some things for that
But stay with this.
thing.
Let
Yeah.
me pray, but stay with this because you're
Okay.
doing. So I really think as crucial as what Gray laid out, I think you're really going to help define or help clarify even more.
The details of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lord's helping you. This is
Yeah.
phenomenal. Okay, let me pray.
Oh,
I'm all excited. Ah,
oh, good.
thank you so much. Thank you for, first of all, that Diana and I can work together and Lord, continue to overshadow her in a protective way, just in a way that's filled with grace as far as bringing to her what she needs as she is tapping into such important insight. Just as the writers of scripture, you overshadowed them. So overshadow her, giving her your mind, giving her your clarity, your discernment, so that she can, not only for herself, but as she's laying out a template now. Lord, thank you that what these evil, vile individuals meant for evil, you are now helping Diana mean for good, that she is unpacking and creating that a way that people can understand, that survivors can understand how this all comes together and how they can heal and to be able to measure their healing and really getting in touch with and being very mindful of and aware of their own emotions. Lord, thank you for her dedication. Continue to protect them, protect their house, and just continue to be with her in all parts as you are doing, as you're with her in this important work. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well,
Okay.
thank you.
You're marvelous. Honestly, I'm all jazzed.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think I'll probably just spend the afternoon sorting that stuff out we
Yeah.
just talked about. Because
You're
that's
in
why
the
I
zone.
set aside Tuesday and Friday as John Day.
Yeah. No, you're in the zone. You're in the zone right now. So,
All right,
okay.
good. All
Yeah,
right, well, have a great week and I'll see you Friday.
here we go. We'll talk
Okay.
then.
Okay, bye.